My girlfriend brought her married trainer to live rent-free in my house, declaring, "I'm building my brand, and you should be grateful to help. Simon's teaching me how to be successful." She sold my belongings, saying, "This junk was just collecting dust while I'm trying to build something real." Simon sneered, "She deserves someone who actually supports her dreams." So I had them arrested for destroying my home. Hi, Reddit. So this whole thing started about 3 months ago, and I'm still pissed about it. Figured I'd share this mess with you guys because, honestly, I need to get it off my chest. And maybe some of you can learn from my mistakes. I've 28 males, been working construction for about 8 years now. The pay's decent, and I actually like the work. Been dating this girl Lauren, 25 female, for about 4 years, living together to 2. She works part-time at some fancy boutique downtown, but spends most of her time trying to become a fitness influencer on Instagram. So anyway, Lauren's always been into fitness. She'd go to the gym regularly, eat healthy, post the occasional workout selfie. I thought it was cool, kept her happy and motivated. But about 4 months ago, she switches to this new gym across town. Said her old place was getting stale and she needed a change of scenery. At first, everything seemed normal. She'd go to her workouts, come home, tell me about her day. But then she starts talking about this trainer she's working with, Simon. Initially, it was just normal stuff like, "Oh, Simon showed me this new exercise for my glutes," or "Simon thinks I should try this protein powder." Standard trainer-client bullshit, right? But then it started getting weird. Every single conversation somehow involved what Simon thought about something. I'll be honest, it was starting to annoy me. Like, I get that trainers are supposed to be knowledgeable about fitness stuff, but this guy apparently had opinions about everything. Her diet, her social media strategy, even what clothes she should wear to the gym. Seemed a bit much for a trainer, if you ask me. Things really started getting suspicious when Lauren began staying at the gym way longer than normal. She used to do like an hour workout and come home. Now she's leaving at 6 p.m. and not getting back until 10 or 11 at night. When I'd ask her what took so long, she'd say Simon was helping her with her content strategy after their training sessions. Content strategy? For Instagram fitness posts? Come on. But I didn't want to be that controlling boyfriend, so I kept my mouth shut and figured she'd get bored of it eventually. Then about a month ago, Lauren comes home with this proposal that should have been a massive red flag. She sits me down on the couch and goes, "So Simon's going through kind of a rough patch right now. His lease is up next week and he's having trouble finding a new place he can afford. I was thinking maybe he could crash in our spare room for a couple weeks until he gets back on his feet." Hold up. Our spare room? This is my house that I broke my back to afford, and now she wants to move in some dude I've never even met? I told her I wasn't really comfortable with that, and asked why he couldn't stay with family or other friends. That's when she launches into this whole speech about how amazing Simon has been for her fitness journey. How he's not just helping her get in better shape, but also teaching her about building her brand and becoming a real influencer. She says he's got connections in the fitness industry and knows people who could help her get sponsorship deals. Then she hits me with this. He's going to pay $800 a month in rent. Now, I'll admit, an extra $800 would definitely help with my mortgage payments. And she made it sound like it was just going to be temporary, maybe a month tops while he found his own place. I'm thinking, all right, if this guy is actually going to pay rent and it's only for a few weeks, I can deal with having a roommate temporarily. Plus, Lauren seemed really excited about it, and I didn't want to be the asshole boyfriend who crushed her dreams of becoming an influencer. So I agreed. Biggest mistake of my life. Simon moves in that weekend. First impression? This dude thinks he's God's gift to the world. He's probably 32 or 33. One of those guys who's in decent shape and thinks that makes him better than everyone else. Does that thing where he shakes your hand way too hard, like he's trying to prove something. Calls everyone bro and buddy constantly. The first week actually went okay. He kept to the spare room mostly, seemed clean enough, didn't make too much noise. I barely saw him except when he was coming or going. Started thinking maybe this wouldn't be so bad after all. But the thing that really started pissing me off was how he acted like he owned the place. He'd walk around in just his boxers, like he lived there permanently. He'd blast his music when I was trying to watch TV or relax after work. Worst of all, he started inviting people over without asking me. I came home from work one day to find 3 random dudes I'd never seen before sitting in my living room, eating my food and watching my TV. When I asked what was going on, Simon said, "Oh, these are just some friends from the gym. Hope you don't mind, bro." I did mind. This is my house, not some fraternity hangout. But when I tried to talk to Lauren about it, she got all defensive and said I was being unwelcoming. She said Simon was just trying to network and build connections for both of their careers, and that I should be more supportive. Then there was the rent situation. It had been almost a month and I hadn't seen a single dollar from this guy. When I asked Lauren about it, she said he was between paychecks from the gym, but that he'd pay me back everything he owed as soon as his next payment came through. Between paychecks? The guy was buying new workout clothes every week, always had the latest supplements, constantly talking about some expensive meal he just had at whatever trendy restaurant. But somehow he couldn't come up with rent money for the place he was living in for free? I should have kicked him out right then and there. Should have told Lauren that if she wanted to support some freeloader's lifestyle, she could do it somewhere else. But I loved her, and I thought this was just a temporary situation that would resolve itself once she got tired of playing house with her trainer. Looking back now, I can see how naive I was being. But at the time, I thought I was just being a supportive boyfriend who was helping his girlfriend pursue her dreams. Turns out I was just being a doormat for two people who were already planning to screw me over. It's been about 6 weeks since Simon moved into my spare room and things were getting weirder by the day. The guy still hadn't paid a cent in rent, was eating my food like it was his personal kitchen, and treating my house like his own private clubhouse. But then something happened that should have been a massive wake-up call for me. I started noticing some of my stuff was missing. It started small. Like I'd go to grab my good headphones from my nightstand, and they wouldn't be there. I'd look around thinking maybe I moved them somewhere and forgot. Check the kitchen counter, the coffee table, my workshop. Nothing. When I asked Lauren if she'd seen them, she just shrugged and said no. The first really expensive thing that went missing was my signed Yankees jersey. Derek Jeter, authenticated and everything. Cost me almost $400, but it was worth it because I'm a huge fan. I had it framed and hanging on my bedroom wall. One day I come home from work, and the wall is empty. Just the nail still there where it used to hang. When I asked Lauren, she got defensive as hell. Why are you always accusing me of taking your stuff? Maybe you moved it and forgot where you put it. But I know I didn't move it. I looked at that jersey every morning when I got dressed. It was definitely gone. Then my grandfather's Rolex disappeared. This wasn't just any watch. It was a 1970s Submariner that my grandfather left me when he died. Worth about $3,000, but the sentimental value was way more than that. I kept it in my nightstand drawer in a small box, and one day the box was still there, but the watch was gone. I was furious. I confronted Lauren immediately and demanded to know where my watch was. She got all huffy and said, "I don't know where your stupid watch is. Why do you always think I know where your stuff goes?" But here's the thing. Nobody else had access to my bedroom except her and Simon. And that watch didn't just walk away by itself. I spent the next few days tearing apart the house looking for it. Checked every drawer, every closet, even looked in the garage thinking maybe I'd put it somewhere safe and forgot. But it was gone. Just like the jersey. Just like the hat. Just like the headphones. That's when Lauren dropped the bomb that should have ended everything right there. I was in the garage looking for my cordless drill because I had a side project I wanted to work on. Couldn't find it anywhere. This is a Milwaukee M18 that cost me almost $250, and I use it for work sometimes. I looked everywhere, my toolbox, the workbench, even checked my truck thinking maybe I'd left it there. When I asked Lauren if she'd seen it, she didn't even hesitate. "Oh yeah, I sold that to Simon's friend last week. Got $100 for it." I stared at her like she'd just told me she burned down the garage. "You sold my drill? Without asking me?" She got that attitude like I was being unreasonable. "You weren't using it, and Simon said his friend really needed one for some project. I figured you could just buy a new one if you really needed it." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She sold my work tool without asking, for less than half what it was worth, to some random guy I'd never met. And she thought this was normal behavior. I told her I needed that $100 back right now since it was my drill she sold. She got all pissy about it like I was being petty, but she eventually gave me the money, though she acted like I was ruining her life by asking for it. That should have been the moment I kicked both of them out. Should have realized that if she was comfortable selling my stuff without permission, she was going to keep doing it. But I was still trying to make the relationship work, still hoping this was just some phase she was going through. Then last week I went to check on my baseball card collection. I keep them in a binder in my closet. Nothing too crazy, but some decent cards I've collected over the years. My rookie Derek Jeter card was missing. This card was worth almost $800, and it was the centerpiece of my collection. When I confronted Lauren about it, she didn't even try to deny it this time. Just said, "Oh yeah, Simon's friend collects cards too, and he paid really good money for it. We got $300. We got $300 for my card." I was seeing red. I demanded she give me the money, but she said the money was already spent. Her and Simon had used it to buy equipment for her fitness videos, some fancy ring light and backdrop setup. I said, "Are you out of your mind? You stole my property to fund your hobby, and you don't see anything wrong with that? That's when she really showed her true colors. Started crying those fake tears and saying I was being mean and unsupportive. Said she was just trying to build her brand and become successful, and that I should be happy my stuff was helping her achieve her dreams. She said Simon had told her that I was holding her back, that a real boyfriend would be supportive of her goals, that the stuff she sold was just collecting dust anyway, and I should be grateful it was going towards something useful. I told her I didn't give a shit about her dreams if she was going to steal from me to pay for them. That's when she really lost it and started screaming about how selfish I was, how I never supported her, how Simon was right about me being controlling. That's when it clicked. Simon wasn't just some trainer helping her with fitness. He was getting inside her head, convincing her that stealing from me was justified, that I was the problem, and Lauren was eating it up completely. I told her Simon needed to pack his shit and get out of my house immediately. I didn't care about any rent money he supposedly owed me. I just wanted him gone. But Lauren said that wasn't fair, that he was helping her career, and I was just being jealous of their professional relationship. Professional relationship? Give me a break. So after that massive blowout fight, I'd had enough of this bullshit. The whole situation was messed up and I wasn't going to tolerate it anymore. I told both of them they needed to pack their shit and get out of my house immediately. I was done playing games and done being a doormat for these two parasites. Simon got all indignant like I was being unreasonable. Whoa, bro, calm down. We can work this out like adults. Work it out? I said, you've been living here rent-free for 2 months. My girlfriend's been stealing my stuff to pay for your bullshit, and now you want to work things out? Lauren started crying those fake tears again. You're being so mean, Joey. I was just trying to build something for us. For us? I said. You mean for you and him. There is no us anymore. You chose him over me when you decided to steal from me. I gave them 24 hours to get all their crap out of my house, said I was changing the locks the next day, and if I found them here after that, I was calling the police. They left that night, packing up their stuff while giving me dirty looks like I was ruining their lives. Good riddance. But I should have known that wasn't the end of it. The next day I was at work when I decided to do some investigating about this Simon guy. Something about him had always seemed off and I wanted to know who I'd actually been living with. I looked up his Facebook profile during my lunch break. What I found made me want to drive home and change my locks immediately. This piece of shit wasn't some single guy going through a rough patch like he'd told us. He was married, with 2 kids. His profile was full of family photos. Him with his wife at their wedding, vacation pics with the whole family, birthday parties for his kids. But here's the really messed up part. His recent posts were pictures taken in my house. Him cooking in my kitchen, working out in my garage. And he was posting them like it was his place. Captions like, loving the new setup and finally got the home gym I always wanted. His wife was commenting on these photos too. Stuff like, can't wait to see the new place in person. And it looks amazing, babe, so proud of you. This jerk had been telling his wife that my house was their new house. I scrolled back through his timeline and realized he'd been planning this scam for months. Posts about house hunting and finding the perfect family home, while he was actually just looking for some sucker to let him crash for free. His wife thought they were moving to a better place together, when really he was just shacking up with my girlfriend. I screenshot everything and sent it to Lauren. Your trainer is married with kids, and he's been lying to his wife about living here. Hope you're proud of yourself for helping him cheat on his family. She texted back a few hours later. It's complicated, Joey. You don't understand the situation. Complicated? What's complicated about it? The guy lied to everyone and used my house to cheat on his wife while she thought he was providing a better home for their kids. I thought that would be the end of it. They were out of my house, I knew the truth about what kind of people they really were, and I could move on with my life. But a few days later, Lauren called her sister Catherine. Catherine and I had always gotten along. She's way more mature than Lauren, and usually pretty level-headed. She called me to get my side of the story because apparently Lauren had been telling her some bullshit version of events. I explained everything. Simon being married, him never paying rent, Lauren stealing my stuff, the whole lying scheme. Catherine listened, and when I was done, she said, Joey, I need to tell you something. They showed up at my house yesterday asking to stay here, together, like a couple. I asked her what she meant by that. Catherine said, they're obviously together, Joey, all over each other, acting like boyfriend and girlfriend. Lauren told me you guys broke up because you were controlling and wouldn't support her dreams. That's when I realized Lauren had been planning this for weeks. She'd been getting ready to leave me for this married jerk and was just looking for an excuse to make me the bad guy. Catherine said after hearing my side of the story, she kicked them out immediately. She wasn't going to help her sister cheat with a married man or be part of whatever scam they were running. So now they were homeless and their little fantasy was falling apart. I figured they'd disappear and find some other sucker to leech off of. I was wrong. 2 days later, I'm sitting at home around 7 p.m. watching TV when I hear cars pulling into my driveway. I look out the window and see Lauren's beat-up Honda plus Simon's truck. My first thought was, what do these idiots want now? They both get out and walk up to my front door like nothing happened. Like the past week of drama was just some minor misunderstanding we could laugh about. Lauren knocks, and when I open it, she's got this fake sweet smile plastered on her face. Hey Joey, can we talk? I think we all got off on the wrong foot here. I'm staring at her like she's lost her mind. Got off on the wrong foot? You've been cheating on me with a married man, stealing my stuff, and lying about everything for months. What exactly is there to talk about? Simon steps up beside her with that same cocky attitude he's always had. Look, bro, we all made mistakes here. Lauren realizes she messed up and wants to work things out. How about we all just move past this and start fresh? Move past it? Start fresh? I told them there was nothing to move past because we were done. They made their choice when they decided to steal from me and lie to everyone, including Simon's wife. But Lauren wasn't giving up that easy. The fake sweetness disappeared and her real entitled attitude came out. Don't be like this, Joey. I lived here for 2 years. This is my home too. You can't just kick me out over some stupid misunderstanding. Stupid misunderstanding. I said, you sold my property without permission, and you've been screwing a married man in my house. That's not a misunderstanding. That's betrayal. Lauren started turning on the waterworks. You're being so mean, Joey. I thought you loved me. Don't you want me to be happy? Simon makes me happy. Happy? I said. Then go be happy somewhere else. With someone else's money and someone else's house. You made your choice when you picked him over me. That's when Simon really showed his true colors. He stepped closer and got in my face like he was trying to intimidate me. You know what your problem is, bro? You're selfish. Lauren deserves better than some controlling asshole who can't forgive a simple mistake. A simple mistake? Months of lying, cheating, and stealing was a simple mistake? I told him to get lost and stay out of my property before I called the police. Simon put his arm around her like he was protecting her from me. You're gonna regret this, bro. Lauren deserves someone who actually supports her dreams instead of tearing her down all the time. Supports her dreams? I said, you mean like paying for her equipment by stealing my stuff? Yeah, that's real supportive. I slammed the door in their faces, but I could hear them outside arguing about what to do next. They sat in Lauren's car for like 10 minutes, probably planning their next move. I watched from the window as they had what looked like a heated discussion, Simon waving his hands around and Lauren crying. Finally, they drove off, but something about the way they left made me nervous. They didn't look defeated. They looked pissed, like they were planning something. I should have called the police right then and reported them for harassment. Should have gotten a restraining order or something. But I figured they'd finally gotten the message and would leave me alone. The next morning, I had to leave early for a job site about an hour away. Big commercial project that was going to keep me busy all day. I left around 6 a.m. and didn't expect to be back until after 5 p.m. Around 3 p.m., I realized I'd left my good measuring tape at home and needed it for the job. My boss was cool about me running home real quick to grab it since we were ahead of schedule anyway. I drove home expecting to be in and out in 5 minutes. When I pulled into my driveway, something immediately felt wrong. My front door was standing wide open. That's when I realized I'd forgotten to change the locks yet. It was on my to-do list, but I'd been so busy with work I hadn't gotten around to it. Lauren still had her key, and apparently she'd used it. I walked inside and my heart sank. They hadn't come back to steal more stuff. They'd come back to destroy everything I owned. The entire place was vandalized. The living room was shredded, couch slashed, coffee table broken, TV screen smashed. The kitchen was a sticky mess with syrup everywhere and smashed dishes. The bedroom was worse. Walls covered in insults written with black markers, mattress destroyed, clothes ripped or bleached. The garage workshop was wrecked too. Tools broken, workbench flipped, and motor oil dumped all over the floor, leaving a disgusting smell behind. The only thing they'd actually stolen was cash. I kept about $1,200 in emergency money hidden in a shoebox in my bedroom closet. That was gone. But everything else, they'd just destroyed, because they could. I was standing in my living room looking at the chaos, trying to process what had happened, when I remembered the security cameras I'd installed the week before. I pulled up the app on my phone and watched the whole thing play out. Clear as day. Lauren and Simon plus 2 other guys I didn't recognize. They'd shown up around 10 a.m. and spent almost 3 hours systematically destroying my house. The worst part was watching Lauren's face during it. She wasn't crying or looking guilty. She was laughing, actually enjoying herself while she poured syrup in my kitchen and wrote on my walls. Simon was the one who cut up my mattress and couch. The other two guys just smashed whatever they could find. They weren't angry or emotional about it. They were having fun, like it was some kind of game to them. I called the police immediately. When the officer arrived and saw the damage, I showed him the security footage and his whole attitude changed. "Well, that makes this case pretty straightforward," he said. He took copies of the video and said all four of them would be charged with breaking and entering, destruction of property, and theft. I'd been keeping most of it to myself while it was happening, because I didn't want to deal with the "I told you so" comments. But after Lauren and Simon trashed my house, I had to tell my family what was going on. My mom was the first person I called after the police left. She lives about 2 hours away, but we talk every week or so. When I told her what happened, there was this long silence, and then she just said, "Joey, I never liked that girl." Turns out my whole family had been biting their tongues about Lauren for months. My mom said she always thought Lauren was a little too concerned with herself, but didn't want to interfere in my relationship. She said the few times Lauren came to family dinners, she spent the whole time on her phone posting selfies instead of talking to anyone. "And that trainer," my mom said. "I knew something was wrong the minute you mentioned some strange man moving into your house. What kind of woman brings another man into her boyfriend's home?" My dad was pissed, like really pissed. He's one of those old school guys who doesn't say much, but when he does, you listen. When I told him about Lauren selling my tools and baseball cards, he went quiet for a minute and then said, "Son, that's not a girlfriend, that's a thief." He offered to drive down and help me fix up the house, which actually meant a lot coming from him. My dad's not the most emotional guy, but when he heard about them writing on my walls and destroying my stuff, he said, "Nobody deserves that kind of disrespect in their own home." My older sister Rachel was the most vocal about it. Said she'd noticed Lauren always seemed to be calculating what she could get out of situations. Like when we'd go out to dinner as a family, Lauren would order the most expensive thing on the menu and then not even finish it. Or how she'd hint around about wanting expensive gifts, but never offered to pay for anything herself. "She was using you, Joey. We could all see it, but you were too close to the situation." My family's reaction actually made me realize how much I'd been isolating myself during that whole relationship. I'd stopped going to as many family dinners because Lauren always found excuses not to go. I'd stopped bringing friends around because she'd complain about them afterward. I hadn't even realized how much I'd changed until it was over. So the police arrested Lauren and Simon that same evening. The other two guys took a couple more days to track down since they weren't local, but the cops got them too. Turns out they were just some random losers Simon knew from another gym who were happy to trash someone's house for $50 each. Lauren called me from jail around 11 p.m., crying her eyes out and begging me to drop the charges. "Joey, please, I'm so sorry. This was all Simon's idea. I didn't want to do it, but he convinced me you deserved it. Please don't let them keep me here." I told her she should have thought about that before she helped destroy my house. She made her choice when she picked a married cheater over me, and now she had to deal with the consequences. "But I love you," she kept saying. "I made a mistake. Can't we work this out?" "Love me?" I said. "People who love each other don't steal from each other and trash each other's homes. You showed me exactly how much you love me when you wrote 'jerk' on my bedroom wall." She started sobbing harder and saying Simon had manipulated her, that he'd told her I was controlling and didn't deserve her, that he'd convinced her I had it coming. But here's the thing. Nobody forced her to pick up that marker and write on my walls. Nobody forced her to laugh while she poured syrup in my kitchen. I saw the security footage. She was having the time of her life destroying my stuff. The arraignment was 2 days later. I took the morning off work to be there and watch these two get what they deserved. Lauren looked like shit, hadn't slept, makeup smeared, wearing the same clothes from when they arrested her. Simon looked pissed off like this was all somehow my fault. "Breaking and entering is breaking and entering," the judge said, "especially when there's video evidence of destruction of property." Lauren got 18 months probation and had to pay restitution for all the damage. Simon got 2 years in county jail because this wasn't his first rodeo. Turns out he'd been arrested before for similar shit, using women to get free places to live, then causing drama when it fell apart. The other two idiots got probation and community service since they were just hired muscle and didn't have priors. But the real fun started when we got to the restitution hearing a few weeks later. That's when I had to go through every single item that was damaged or destroyed and prove how much it was worth. I showed up with a folder full of receipts, photos, and documentation. My lawyer had helped me put together a comprehensive list of everything: furniture, electronics, clothes, tools, even the cost to clean the motor oil out of my garage and repaint my bedroom walls. Lauren sat there crying while I read off the list. Couch, $800. Coffee table, $200. Mattress, $400. TV, $600. And on and on. Her parents were in the courtroom looking absolutely mortified. The total came to $6,247 for property damage, plus the $1,200 cash they stole. So Lauren owed me $7,447 total. Her dad came up to me after the hearing and apologized. "I'm so sorry for what she did, Joey. This isn't how we raised her. We'll make sure she pays every penny back." And I told him I appreciated that. But Lauren was an adult who made her own choices. She chose to trust a married liar over her boyfriend of 2 years. She chose to steal from me and destroy my home. Now she had to live with those choices. Catherine was there too, testifying for me about how Lauren had lied to her about the whole situation. She said she didn't even recognize her sister anymore, and that she was ashamed of what Lauren had become. "I tried to help her," Catherine told the judge, "but she was so caught up in this fantasy with Simon that she couldn't see how wrong everything was." The judge wasn't having any of Lauren's sob story either. When she tried to claim that Simon had manipulated her, and she was a victim too, he said, "Ma'am, you're an adult. You chose to participate in this destruction. No one forced you to vandalize this man's home." Simon's case was even more interesting. Turns out his wife had found out about everything during the investigation. She'd been wondering where all their money was going and why he was never home. When the police contacted her as part of the case, she learned that he'd been spending their savings on Lauren and lying about getting them a new house. His wife filed for divorce immediately and moved back to her parents' house with the kids. She also testified at his sentencing, telling the judge how Simon had destroyed their family with his lies and cheating. "He told me he was working extra hours to save money for a better home for our children," she said. "Instead, he was living with another woman and spending our money on her while lying to both of us." Simon tried to argue that Lauren had seduced him, and it was all her fault, but the judge wasn't buying it. "Mr. Simon, you made the choice to abandon your family responsibilities and participate in this scheme." So Simon lost his wife, his kids, his freedom, and any chance of seeing his children regularly once he got out. His ex-wife was granted full custody and moved to another state to get away from him. The restitution payments started coming in about a month later. Lauren couldn't afford to pay it herself since she'd lost her job at the boutique when word got around about what she'd done. Her parents were covering most of it because they felt responsible and didn't want me to suffer any more than I already had. I used the money to fix up my house even better than it was before. New furniture, fresh paint throughout, upgraded security system. I also changed all the locks and added deadbolts on every door. The place felt like mine again for the first time in months. Lauren's influencer dreams were dead in the water too. Her Instagram account got flooded with comments from people who'd heard about the court case. Someone had posted screenshots of the police report, and it went around all the local fitness groups. No sponsors wanted to work with someone who'd been arrested for destruction of property. About 3 months after the trial, I ran into Lauren at the grocery store. She looked rough, like she'd been crying a lot and not taking care of herself. She tried to approach me, but I just ignored her and kept shopping. She followed me to the checkout line and started apologizing again. "Joey, please, I know I messed up, but I've learned from this. I'm in therapy now, trying to work on myself. Do you think maybe someday we could talk?" I told her there was nothing to talk about. She'd shown me who she really was when she chose to trust a married cheater over me. She'd shown me her true character when she helped destroy my home. "But I miss you," she said, starting to cry again. "I miss us. I know I can't undo what I did, but maybe we could start over?" "Start over?" I said. "Some things you can't come back from. Some trust you can't rebuild. You made your choice and now you have to live with it." I paid for my groceries and walked to my truck. She followed me to the parking lot, still begging for another chance. But I got in and drove away without another word. Catherine told me later that Lauren had moved back in with their parents and was working at some retail job making minimum wage. Apparently, she was struggling to make friends because word had gotten around about what she'd done. Her therapist was trying to help her understand why she'd made such terrible decisions, but the damage was done. Simon got out of jail after serving about 18 months. I heard through Catherine that he'd moved to another state and was trying to rebuild his life. His ex-wife had remarried and moved even further away with the kids. He'd destroyed his entire family for a fling with my girlfriend. The whole thing taught me a lot about people and relationships. I realized I'd been too trusting, too willing to make excuses for bad behavior. Lauren had been showing me who she was for months. Entitled, selfish, willing to lie and steal to get what she wanted. I just hadn't wanted to see it. Now I know better. I know the difference between being supportive and being a doormat. I know the warning signs of someone who sees you as a means to an end rather than a partner. and I know that when someone shows you their true character, you should believe them the first time.